The dog wasn't mine. That was the first thing I thought when I opened my eyes at 3:14 a.m. and saw it sitting at the foot of my bed. It wasn't breathing. Its fur didn't ripple with air or twitch with the little muscle tremors real dogs get. It was just still, perfectly black, like someone had carved a hole in the shape of a dog out of the air. I didn't even hear it come in. My own dog, Lucy, was curled against my side, stiff as a board, growling so low it sounded like a diesel engine trapped in her chest. I whispered her name, tried to soothe her, but she wouldn't take her eyes off the thing. The silhouette shifted, not moving like an animal, but more like sliding, like a cursor on a screen. I could feel the room tilting in some wrong direction, as if gravity itself bent toward it. And then the sound started. Not from its mouth, it didn't have a mouth, but from everywhere at once. A flat, mechanical voice repeating a phrase so low it rattled my ribs. Stairs. 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 I don't even have stairs in my house. I froze. The word looped in my head. Stairs. Until it felt like the only word I'd ever known. Lucy barked, one sharp, terrified crack, and just like that the black dog wasn't at the foot of the bed anymore. It was by the door. I didn't see it move. One blink, and it had shifted, still featureless, still wrong. My heart was punching against my ribs so hard I thought I'd vomit. I reached for my phone on the nightstand, and the screen lit my face with the pale blue of the lock screen. And there it was again. Not the dog, my reflection in the black mirror of the screen. My face looked normal, except my mouth was moving even though I wasn't speaking. My reflection's lips shaped the same word, over and over. Stairs. I dropped the phone. It hit the carpet without a sound. The dog's head tilted like it had been waiting for me to notice. And then something impossible happened. My hallway light flicked on, and in the glow, I saw a staircase where there had never been one before, spiraling up the wall of my circular living room. I don't live in a circular house. At least, I didn't. The hallway had always led straight into the kitchen. Now it curved, perfectly smooth, like I was inside a hollow cylinder. The staircase spiraled upward, narrow, wooden, with no railing. My stomach turned just looking at it. Lucy refused to follow. She backed into the bedroom corner, hackles raised, teeth bared in a snarl I'd never heard from her before. I whispered her name again, but she wouldn't move. The dog, the void thing, stood at the bottom of the stairs now, not blocking them, not urging me forward, just waiting. My phone buzzed against the carpet. I snatched it up without thinking, desperate for something normal, and the screen unlocked itself. No password, no fingerprint, just open. A message had typed itself in my notes app. She's still upstairs. You have to see her. I nearly dropped the phone again. My hands were shaking so bad it blurred the words. I don't know what scared me more, the message itself or the fact that I knew exactly who she was supposed to be. My mother, dead for 5 years. I whispered, no, 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 like saying it out loud could make the message disappear. But the words stayed on the screen, pulsing faintly as though the phone itself was breathing. My mother had died in a hospital bed. I'd watched her last breath. I'd seen the nurse turn off the monitor. There was no upstairs for her to be waiting in. Still, my body moved before my brain caught up. I stepped into the hallway. The air felt heavier in there, thick like steam, though I could see perfectly. The spiral staircase looked older than the rest of the house, as if it had always been there, hidden under the drywall. The black dog was gone. I climbed the first step. The wood groaned under me, deep and hollow. Something shifted above, too fast to see clearly, but I swear it looked like the hem of a white uniform disappearing around the curve. My chest locked tight. I remembered a story my uncle used to tell when he'd had too much to drink, that out on the back road near the old hospital, people would see a nurse standing by the ditch at night. She never waved, never walked, just stared. He always said she looked like she was waiting for someone specific. And now, for the first time in my life, I wondered if that someone was me. Step after step, the spiral dragged me upward. My hand brushed the wall for balance, and it wasn't drywall anymore. It was cold stone, rough and damp. The air smelled like mildew and iodine, the way hospitals smell after midnight when all the lights are off. Halfway up, I heard it. Not the dog, not my own breath, but the slow, rubbery squeak of shoes on tile, pacing in a circle above me. A nurse's step. I knew it before I even saw her. My phone lit again in my hand. No vibration, no alert. Just a new note typed on its own. Don't let her touch you. My throat closed. I wanted to run back down, but when I looked over my shoulder, the stairs behind me didn't lead down anymore. They just curved into black, as if someone had erased the rest of the house with a marker. That was when she appeared at the top, just a silhouette against the glow of a single flickering fluorescent light. The starched hat, the pale dress, hands folded in front of her like she'd been waiting. She wasn't breathing either. She didn't move at first, just stood at the landing, head tilted slightly, like she was studying me. I took another step, and that was enough. Her arms dropped to her sides, and she began walking down. Not fast, not slow, mechanical, like each motion was pre-programmed. The sound of her shoes on the wood didn't match her steps. It was delayed, like an echo that arrived too late. I froze halfway up. My phone buzzed again, but this time the screen stayed black. The buzzing didn't stop, though. It just kept rattling in my hand like the motor was stuck. She was closer now. Her face came into view in the stuttering light. The skin around her mouth was wrong, too smooth, as if someone had erased it. No lips, no teeth, just skin stretched flat where her mouth should be. I nearly lost my balance, clutching the damp wall. And then, without opening any mouth, she spoke. Her voice slid into my skull, so cold it felt wet. You shouldn't have come up the stairs. The words weren't just in my head. They were behind my eyes, crawling under the bone. I staggered backward, but the steps groaned like they were flexing beneath me, softening. She kept coming. Each step she took warped the air, pulling the shadows down the walls like liquid. Her hand rose, pale and trembling, reaching for my face. I remembered the message, "Don't let her touch you." So I did the only thing I could. I hurled my phone at her. It passed straight through her chest, clattering against the landing behind her. For one awful moment, the light from the screen illuminated something inside her, like a hollow cavity filled with writhing black threads. They twitched toward me, as if aware, hungry. The staircase beneath my feet buckled. My legs sank an inch into the wood as though it were rotting away. She reached again, and just before her fingers grazed my skin, everything went black. Not unconsciousness, not sleep, just black, like I had stepped inside the body of that void dog. The black wasn't empty. I could hear breathing, hundreds of different rhythms, all around me, above, below, inside my own chest. Some shallow, some ragged, some wheezing like the last breath before death. I tried to move, but there was no body to move with, just the sense of floating in tar. Then, far ahead, two pinpricks of light blinked open. Eyes, too low to be human. The dog. It padded forward, its outline sharpening against the dark. Still faceless, still that hole carved out of reality, but I could feel its attention on me. The breathing around me stopped all at once, like they were waiting to hear what it would do. And then the voice came again, but not from the dog this time. From behind me. From everywhere. Downstairs is gone. Only up. The void rippled, and suddenly I was falling, plummeting straight through the black. When I hit, I landed on wood. Hard. I gasped for air, real air, and found myself on another staircase. But this one wasn't spiraling. It was endless. Straight up, higher and higher into the dark. And halfway up, I could see her again. The nurse, standing sideways on the wall as if gravity didn't apply. Watching. Waiting. I told myself not to move. Not to give her the satisfaction of seeing me climb toward her. But the staircase had its own ideas. The steps shifted under me, jerking upward like an escalator with no power. I stumbled, catching myself on the rail that hadn't been there a second ago. It was icy metal, slick with something that clung to my palm. The nurse stayed halfway up, fixed to the wall like a painting, her eyeless face angled toward me. She didn't need eyes to know exactly where I was. Then the doors appeared. Every 10 steps, on either side of the stairwell, a door materialized. Different colors, different woods. Some tall, some barely large enough for me to crawl through. None of them had handles. Except one. About 20 steps above me, on the left, was a narrow white door with a brass knob. A hospital room door. I knew that color. I knew that handle. It was the same door I'd watched the nurse close the night my mother died. I grabbed the rail harder, while rising in my throat. The nurse finally moved, lifting her hand and pointing directly at that door. I don't know why I listened. Maybe because she wanted me to. Maybe because some part of me wanted to see if my mom was really there. My hand shook so badly I could barely close my fingers around the brass knob. The moment I touched it, The stairwell went silent. No creaks, no echo, not even the faint rasp of my own breath. I pushed the door open. The smell hit first: antiseptic, sour sweat, the faint rot of wilted flowers. A hospital room, lit only by a yellow lamp. The bed was against the far wall, rails up, sheets tucked tight. A figure lay beneath the blanket, chest rising and falling with slow, shallow breaths. My mother. Her hair was the same as it had been the last time I saw her, thin, gray, matted to her scalp. Her hand twitched against the sheet. "Mom," I whispered. The figure stirred. Her head turned toward me, but instead of her face, it was the black dog's void, shaped into a human head, stretching the skin of her features like a mask. And when it opened its mouth, my mother's voice spilled out, soft and broken. "Why didn't you stay with me?" I staggered back, hitting the doorframe, but the room didn't let me leave. The door slammed shut behind me with a force that rattled the glass of the yellow lamp. The figure sat up in the bed. Its movements were jerky, like bones grinding the wrong way in their sockets. My mother's face stretched and tore at the seams as the black void pressed through, shaping itself into something dog-like, something too large for her skin. "Stay," it rasped, her voice bending around the word like it didn't fit. I wanted to scream, to tell it she wasn't my mother, but the part of me that still remembered sitting in that same room, holding her cold hand, kept my throat locked shut. The lamp flickered, and for a split second, I saw the nurse reflected in the window. She was inside the room now, behind me, watching. My phone buzzed again in my pocket. Somehow it had returned to me. I pulled it out, desperate for any anchor to reality, and the screen lit up with a single new line of text. "Don't sit. Don't lie down. If you do, you'll never get back up." I looked at the bed again. The figure was patting the mattress beside her, inviting me. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to not sit down. The text still glowed on my phone, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. But the thing on the bed, wearing my mother's shape, her voice, kept patting the sheets. The sound was too loud, like someone slapping wet meat. I forced myself backward until my shoulders pressed against the cold wall. The nurse's reflection in the window shifted, and for a second I thought she was smiling beneath the skin stretched over her mouthless face. "Stay," the figure croaked again, louder this time, more insistent. I lunged for the door. My hand closed around the knob, but it was hot, searing, like gripping a stove coil. I yanked my hand back with a hiss. The smell of scorched skin filled the air. The lamp flared brighter. The figure swung its legs off the bed. Its bare feet hit the tile with a sickening slap. And then, for the first time, the black dog stepped fully out of her. Its void body peeled itself from her like oil rising through water. My mother's husk collapsed back against the bed, deflated. The dog padded toward me, silent, shapeless, dragging the dark with it. Behind me, the nurse finally moved. One hand on my shoulder. "Cold. Heavy," she whispered, not into my ear, but into the marrow of my bones. "If you run, it follows. If you stay, it eats." I didn't choose. The house chose for me. The floor lurched, tile buckling like waves. The bed slid backward into the wall until it vanished, swallowed whole. The lamp shattered, but instead of glass it rained down fragments of light that hissed and sizzled as they hit the ground. The nurse's hand pinned me in place. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The black dog was inches away now, its body pulsing like a starless heart. My skin prickled as if it was pulling heat out of me. Then the wall behind me split open. A new door. No frame, no handle, just a jagged crack yawning wide, sucking stale air through it like a vacuum. The nurse's grip tightened, steering me toward the opening. Not guiding, forcing. I tried to fight her, digging my nails into the wall, but the surface turned slick under my hands. My fingers sank into it like wet clay. The more I struggled, the more the house seemed to melt around me, as if it wanted me inside that crack. The dog stopped, waiting. The nurse leaned close, her face brushing my ear. For the first time, I smelled her, sterile gauze and formaldehyde. "Upstairs," she whispered. And with a final shove, she pushed me through the wall. I tumbled headfirst into darkness and slammed onto wood again. My knees buckled, and when I looked up, my stomach flipped. The staircase, endless, straight up. Except now it was crawling with movement. Figures lined the steps above and below me, all frozen in strange poses, some crouched, some sprawled, some halfway up as if they'd collapsed mid-climb. They weren't strangers. Every face I saw was someone I'd known who had died. My grandmother slumped against the wall, rosary still tangled in her hand. A boy I went to school with, who drowned the summer after graduation, lying face down on a step. Even my old boss, who'd hung himself in his garage, his eyes bulging as he sat like a discarded mannequin. None of them breathed. None of them blinked. But every single one had their arms stretched upward, pointing at the same place above us. I followed the line of their fingers. There, impossibly far up the staircase, was a door glowing faintly blue. The light pulsed like a heartbeat, and standing in front of it, blocking the way, was the nurse. Only now, she wasn't faceless. She was wearing my mother's face, smiling too wide, like she finally had the mouth she'd been waiting for. I tried to breathe, but the air was thick, wet, like breathing through cloth. The bodies didn't move, but their presence pressed against me, the way a packed crowd does when no one gives an inch. I stepped onto the next stair. That was enough. The boy who drowned twitched. Water gurgled out of his mouth, spilling down the step. My grandmother's rosary beads clicked together as her lips parted, whispering in Latin though her eyes never opened. Then, one by one, the rest of them stirred. Not fully alive, just enough to turn their faces toward me, enough to open their mouths. And when they spoke, it wasn't their voices. It was the nurses. Every throat carried the same words, in perfect unison. Keep climbing. I clapped my hands over my ears, but it didn't matter. The sound wasn't in the air, it was inside my skull, vibrating in my teeth. The staircase shook beneath me like the house itself was echoing her command. Above, the glowing blue door pulsed brighter. And for a second, I thought I saw someone's silhouette framed in its light. Thin, frail, with hair I knew too well. Mom. She was waiting at that door. Or something wearing her was. I forced myself upward, shoving past the bodies. They didn't resist, not exactly. They sagged and swayed, their cold skin brushing mine as if every one of them was testing how real I still was. The drowned boy's hand snapped up, clamping around my wrist. His grip was ice, bone grinding bone. I yanked free, leaving streaks of gray water on my arm. I kept climbing. Faster. The chorus of voices followed, each corpse mouthing the same words as if they were all tuned to a single signal. Keep climbing. Keep climbing. My knees screamed. My lungs burned. But the glowing blue door was closer now, pulsing so bright it cast shadows down the stairwell. The silhouette still stood in front of it, Mom, or the thing that wore her. And then, from somewhere far below, I heard claws on wood. The dog. It was climbing too. Not fast, but steady, deliberate. And the dead didn't speak when it passed them. They moved aside, shifting their stiff bodies so it could ascend. The air grew thinner the higher I went. I felt like I was suffocating, like each step was stealing air instead of giving it back. By the time I reached the last stretch, the blue door was throbbing like a wound, and the figure in front of it finally raised its head. It wasn't my mother anymore. It was the nurse, smiling with her stolen mouth. I stopped 3 steps below her. The glow from the door painted her in pale blue, erasing every shadow except the one carved into her stolen smile. She didn't move aside. She didn't need to. The way she looked at me, like she already knew the choice I'd make, was worse than any shove. Below, the sound of claws grew louder. Closer. I didn't have time to wait. I lunged. Her hand shot out, faster than thought, wrapping around my throat. She didn't squeeze, she didn't have to. Her skin was ice, and where she touched me, the flesh prickled dead, numb, spreading outward like frostbite. You climb so well, she whispered, the voice coming from everywhere but her mouth. But you never ask what's on the other side. I choked, struggling, and shoved at her with everything I had. For one awful second, my hand passed through her like mist, and I felt the void inside her, a rushing emptiness that wanted to hollow me out and wear me like a suit. The door pulsed behind her, so bright now it felt alive, beating like a heart. The claws scraped the final stretch below. The dog was almost there. I had seconds to decide. Let the nurse drag me into her emptiness, or throw myself through the door before the dog reached me. I didn't think. I jumped. I tore free of her hand, ripping skin from my throat where her frostbitten touch clung, and slammed my shoulder into the glowing door. For a split second it resisted, as if it weren't a door at all but a wall of light. Then it gave way. I tumbled through, blinded by blue. The air changed. Hot, sterile, stinking of bleach and iron. My knees hit tile, and when my vision cleared, I was standing in a hospital corridor. Long, endless. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered in unison, buzzing like a swarm of insects. Every door on either side was closed, numbered, identical. At the far end of the hall, a crash cart lay tipped over, its wheels spinning in silence. Behind me, the door I'd come through was gone. Just smooth wall. I turned back, heart pounding, and froze. Halfway down the corridor, a wheelchair rolled out of one of the rooms on its own. Empty. The rubber wheels squeaked against the linoleum, stopping dead center, facing me. And from every door along the hall, voices whispered in unison. "We saved you a bed." The blue glow pulsed again, but now it was coming from inside the rooms, seeping out around the cracks of the doors like gas. The whispering grew louder, a tidal wave of voices pressing from both sides. The wheelchair began to roll toward me, slow and steady, as if pushed by invisible hands. I backed away, every step echoing down the corridor. My throat still burned where the nurse had touched me. Then the first door opened. Just a crack. Blue light spilled out, brighter than the hallway fluorescence, humming like electricity. I couldn't see inside, only the shape of a bed, sheets perfectly made, waiting. Another door opened, then another. Soon the entire hall was alive with doors swinging wide, one by one, in perfect rhythm. Beds inside every room. All empty, all waiting. And then, at the far end of the corridor, I heard it. The claws. Click, click, click. The black dog padded into view, its void shape darker than the shadows, its head low, its eyes burning 2 holes straight through me. The voices shifted, now chanting in time with its steps. Lie down, lie down, lie down. The wheelchair stopped a few feet in front of me, facing one of the glowing rooms. Its seat was empty, but I swear I felt someone sitting in it, waiting for me to take their place. I had nowhere left to run. The wheelchair creaked. The dog stalked closer, its body dragging the shadows with it, pulling the hallway narrower, tighter, as if it wanted me funneled straight into the nearest glowing room. I pressed my back against the wall, nails digging into the paint. My chest heaved, but no air filled my lungs. The lights flickered once, twice, and then went out. Total dark, except for the doors. Every one of them glowed now, 100 blue hearts beating in unison. And in the dark, 2 shapes moved toward me. The nurse. Her stolen mouth stretched into a smile that split her face in 2. The dog. Its void body swallowing every scrap of light it touched. I shut my eyes. I told myself I wouldn't lie down. I wouldn't sit. I wouldn't let them put me in that bed. But when I opened my eyes again, the ceiling was above me. White. Cracked. Fluorescent lights buzzing. I was already lying down. Sheets tight against my body. Rails on both sides. A hospital bed. And just at the edge of my vision, in the reflection of the darkened TV screen on the wall, I saw them standing side by side. Waiting.